Green, blue, and gray, that's what we rock. On top, right with us. Glad to hear y'all dropped in. On top, slide with us. Walk and take it locked in, and let's go.
Oh,
Hey, how's it going, Dave?
man. Hey, I was just about to say that's like our smoothest intro, and then it wasn't.
Right to it. Right to it.
It went right to it. So, hey, so what's going on, man?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
I'm well. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm doing all.
Better swing of things.
Huh?
So you're in better swing of things.
Yeah. So yeah. It's funny. People ask me that, and then I go, "Are you sure you want to ask me that?" Because you ask somebody how they're doing, and then they actually tell you, and you're like, "Oh,
Oh,
yeah, that sucks." Yeah. So those of you that don't know, I got to spend another few days in the hospital just before the weekend. But the good news is, they go, well, we could fix this by just shocking it. They go, I think we can fix it. I'm like, well, then shock it. Let's go. And the reason they didn't do it the first time was because I have a history of DVTs. Well, I've been on blood thinners for a few months. And so the doctor said, well, if you've been taking them consistently, I said, absolutely. He goes, we could do this. So we do it. And evidently, they put you out. They put me out like with propofol and what's the stuff that's killing everybody? What's the drug that's killing everybody?
not the Ozempic. No.
Huh?
I don't know.
Well, yeah, the stuff that's coming over from the border or whatever. Anyways, but when it's controlled, when it's used right, it's a painkiller. So anyway, so they put me out.
Oh, fentanyl. You talking fentanyl?
Yeah. So propofol and fentanyl, yeah, quite a concoction. Anyways, so evidently after they shocked me, I sat like straight up, and I said, "Was that completely necessary?" And then I laid back down, and I was out. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember none of that. So I will tell you though, Walt, I didn't realize actually how bad I was doing. We've been doing the show. I didn't feel like doing. I didn't feel like doing nothing. We were doing those watch parties. I've been walking around for the past 6-7 months, maybe even a skosh more than that, but at least the 6-7 months, feeling like I had the flu or COVID. I just felt lethargic, low energy, achy, and it was all I had to do all the stuff that I was trying to do. And for the first time since they did that, my heart's in rhythm, is in sinus rhythm, and I feel really good. So that was a good thing. So you're talking about you're back in softball season.
Yeah, back in the softball. It's for the softball right now. The season officially started yesterday. So we're supposed to have a game tomorrow. Got canceled with all the rain that we're having down here in SoCal. So we have that rescheduled, and then we have a game on Friday, which should be able to play. So yeah, it'll be our first game of the season, getting back into some action. We're in a really good mindset right now.
Yeah, how the girls look?
Yeah, they're getting better. The emphasis was, working on our speed and agility and athleticism, right? So I think, if you build on your athleticism, then that'll allow you to be a better athlete to play your respective sport. And it's kind of something that's going on right now. And across high school, that like the athleticism's down a little bit. Everyone's just playing their sport, but they're not getting more athletic, not more agile, not faster. And so that was kind of a point of emphasis going. We started it back in November, going a couple of days a week. So like that's been like lifting weights, getting their agility in, working on our speed, and the girls look good. We've been getting better, each week as we progress it, and then like finally really fine tuning the technique in the craft, not making those those little mental mistakes and those smaller errors, and just kind of have a different mindset or a different focus on just work ethic. And so it's great to just seeing them being able just to grow and develop, especially from the girls that returned from last season. It's leaps and bounds almost, from this time last year going into the season. So yeah, we feel pretty good. You know, just taking it one day at a time, just trying to get better each day.
That's good. And are you coaching with Tiff again?
Yep, coach with Tiff, coach my wife. You know,
Yeah.
so it's so you know that's always funny because I mean, you know, she's a big sports fan. She was obviously a softball player. She ran track. She did volleyball and did basketball. So you know, she did quite a few sports in high school and had an opportunity to go play college softball. And I decided just to take some time off and you know travel a little bit, I guess, during that time, you know. But yeah, so it's been fun, you know, working with her, you know, in this capacity, just kind of common interests, and you know, really just trying to you know give back and help develop these young ladies, you know, just not just on the field, but then also just in life in general. I think that's the biggest thing with coaching. The best coaches that I've always had from high school and college and even in the NFL were the coaches that kind of poured into us as young men to build us, you know, to make the upstanding men of society. The X's and O's were always going to come, especially you know as you the higher you go up. You know, guys are very talented, very athletic, so you know your intellect is you know going to put you in position to be able to make plays, and you know their job those coaches that those position coaches that I've had always felt that you know their duty was to help build us up as young men and give us their life experience, and so you know that's something that always stuck with me as a player going through life and been very impactful. And you know I think you can speak to it as well, all the work that you do with the young individuals, you know, just being able to kind of give back and kind of inspire and kind of
Right.
light a flame, you know, just spark the flame for some young individual that you know can go on and go do great things, you know, when they you know probably don't have that self belief, you know, within them, and you know, are the you know you don't know what you don't know, and just kind of you know trusting the process and trusting your own personal experience and your gifts that you have, because everyone's good at something, right? And so it's figuring out what that is and being able to hone those skills to be great at it and kind of you know hopefully you know make it into a career or do something you love to do or passion or just be able to just get back.
Yeah, that's cool. So first of all, Anne Marie, real quick, she just said, "Hey, somebody's watching from France." So comment ça va? That's the only French I know. Well, actually, I know some other things, but I can't say them on the air. Um, but hey, but Walt, you said something that you said it's always fun. You go, yeah, I'm coaching with Tiff. It's always fun. Is it
Yeah.
always fun?
You know, it's you know, because it's like you have there's it's an interesting dynamic, right? Because I mean, obviously, you know, we're husband and wife, but then you know,
Yes.
we got to put our coach's hat on too,
Yes.
and so we have you know different philosophies of some things and how we go about and approach things and stuff like that. So, you know, it's you know keeping it in the moment and also understanding it's like okay, hey, we're in this hat because we're you know we're at practice right now or we're game planning or this or you know this and that and you know and do our best not to you know bring that home and kind of reset and kind of get into it. And I think that goes you know not just in like for the sport aspect, but I think if you work with your significant other or you work with family, it's that same type of dynamic, right? Because I mean you know that business mentality is totally different than from you know a working relationship that you may have with somebody. And so, can the lines get blurred, which they easily can get blurred, you know, giving the closeness within that situation. But, yeah, I mean, but it is fun though. I mean, being able to, it's like, I know where you're going to be at. I know, where I'm going to be at. We're going to be at practice right here. It's like, what are we doing for dinner? When we getting the kids? So it's like, it's easy.
Well, I'll tell you, and not something that was intentional, I'm sure, but with the family dynamic, breaking down as it is, all over the country, and so many single parent homes and divorce rates, and for the two of you to do something like that and be a husband and wife team, showing how you can find that that common interest, the common, well, and really have a fun marriage, and be partners, and then not only that, be able to do something cool with it. I know that's not your intention, but that's what those young ladies are seeing. So I
Yeah,
think that's a cool thing, a cool, once again, unintentional consequence, not a consequence. It'd be a benefit. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's pretty cool. So all right, well, I'm glad it's working out. I know you shared somebody played a midnight game. I know that sounds a little weird, but let's talk about the game, because I know. Hey, look, it's post Super Bowl. Everybody's talked about it. Like, I mean, we're not going to shed any new light on anything, but
Yeah.
Always love getting your perspective, being the fact that you did it. But and before we get into it, I just have to say I'd like the opportunity to be able to wear the gear. I was there all week. I was there all week.
How was it up there during the week?
It was. I will tell you, it was like a Seahawks home game. I mean, anywhere we went, there were Seahawks fans. You know, we went to Ditka and Jaws, and Justin from the Beast Bus. He
Okay.
brought they bought like 10 tickets to the Ditka and Jaws, and they were there in green jack. Oh my gosh, bro! I mean, it was like I've been to like the last 5 Super Bowls and going to all those events. I've never seen a team represented like the Seahawks represented at this Super Bowl. It was like a home game. It was amazing. It was really cool. I actually, we got kind of nice. We got early access to the NFL shops because of the one event I did with Coach Dungy, the Build-A-Bear, and the Basket of Hope. We did a big event there. And so we got in early before anybody was even shopping. And I'm looking around and, first of all, there's just not a lot of 3Xs in anything,
Yeah.
Maybe you don't know, but I'm going to tell you. There just isn't. And so this sweatshirt was like one of the sweatshirts the teams were wearing on opening night, and there was one 3X, and so when I looked at the price, I put it back on the rack, and I started looking around, and there just wasn't anything else, Guess how much this sweatshirt was?
$80, 120
times 3. It was $275. I've never spent so much on an article of clothing other than a suit, or a leather jacket, but whatever.
It looks good though. It looks soft. It looks like
I tell you, when I put it on and it fit, like if it was like for me, sometimes the sleeves get short, and I'm like, okay, if I'm not going to wear it at $275, I'm not going to buy it just to set it on a shelf.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I don't like to wear it because I don't want to get a stain on it. I don't.
That's my problem right there, Dave, with buying long sleeves or sweaters. They get too short. Like I have long arms.
You have long arms.
So like the body type is like I need this size, but then it doesn't match up with the arms. It's always a pain.
Yeah, I understand. So it's funny. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get the sweatshirt, and then Emery wanted a hat. And of course, the hats were twice as expensive as any other hat.
Yeah, it's just marked up. Yeah.
But you know what? I wanted to get the ones. You can always buy the one Super Bowl champ.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted the one that's just said Super Bowl on it because that means you were there. You know what I mean? It was a personal. But I'll tell you, I didn't plan on spending that much money. But yeah, the week overall was a blast. We did the NFL breakfast honoring Christian McCaffrey. With the Bart Starr Award, and then we went immediately over to the veterans and former players flag football game.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, and I had no intention of playing.
You played though?
I had no intention of playing until I got there, right? And then, Nate Boyer's there. Amon Green was there. I never met Amon. Spencer Tillman was there. I don't know if you know these guys, but Spencer Tillman, he's actually a part of the ambassadors program that I'm involved with, and really smart dude out of Oklahoma. But anyway, so there, Robert Gallery, the offensive lineman from the Raiders, he was kind of hosting it. So I got there, I had my throwback Seahawks jersey on, and Kenny Mayne. So Kenny Mayne's been on the show, Kenny.
Yep.
And Kenny is showing me this brace that he wears, that goes from his knee to his back, and it's like an Achilles protector kind of thing. Yeah. And he goes, "Yeah, I don't run or nothing, but he plays quarterback, and he was a quarterback for the veterans." And I'm like, shoot, if Kenny Mayne could be out here, I'll get.
I'm gonna get out here.
Oh, bro. So Kenny Mayne lies. Kenny Mayne is a liar, and I'll tell him to his face. Well, actually, I think I did. Because he says he can't run. That cat can run.
He got out of there a couple times.
Yeah. I mean, not that I'm much of a challenge to get away from, but I'm just saying it wasn't like he was running in a brace. I mean, and then he was just dropping dimes. The veterans beat us by like 2 scores.
Oh, well, really? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and we had professional flag football gals from Dr. Jen Walter. Dr. Jen, she was like the first NFL female
Okay, yeah,
NFL
yeah,
coach. Yeah, she's a
yeah.
freaking nut. I love her, but she's a nut. Um, but yeah, they beat us by like 2 scores. Kenny's dropping dimes, and they had some athletes out there. So, anyways,
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun, and then this was a cool night. It wrapped up with a VIP party. DJ Jazzy Jeff and Dougie Fresh.
Mm.
And Dougie Fresh is an entertainer, man. Have you
Yeah.
ever seen him?
I haven't seen him. No, and I haven't seen him in
Oh, Do you know who
atmosphere
he
like that.
is?
Yeah.
Okay, well, because I mean that Dougie Fresh goes back to my era, so I
Yeah.
know. But yeah, I mean he was just beatboxing and going. He went nuts. It was a blast. We had a great time, and they hooked us up with these nice Letterman's jackets, that Super Bowl Letterman's jackets, which was really kind of cool.
Nice.
But yeah, so then we thought either go to a watch party up there because I can't afford a ticket, or we'll head back home. We'll head back home. So we got up like with 4 hours sleep, and we decided to go hit the watch party at Bruno's
Oh,
with
yeah.
with the gang, man. Oh my gosh. Bruno's. It's nuts,
Yeah.
anyways. But for that Super Bowl, um, it was nice to see it play out the way at least I envisioned and the way we talked about it. What did you think of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of seen it playing out that way. I
Yeah,
felt that it was going to be a defensive game. I thought the Patriots had a good defense, a pretty solid defense. They're not on the level of what the Seahawks defense was, but I knew it was going to be a tough fought game. I thought it was going to be whoever had the most turnovers, we're going to win the game. Obviously, we won the turnover battle,
right.
and I think them holding us to 9 points in that first half, kind of foreseen that happening, and it was really just going to come down to how Drake May was going to be efficient, throwing the ball or not. I think we got away with, for whatever reason, him not scrambling as a quarterback.
Right.
I think if that's what he's kind of used to. I think that's what made him successful through the course of the year. So I thought it was very crazy, very interesting that he wasn't scrambling, moving the pocket, especially when it was collapsing to try to just
Yeah.
move the sticks. And I think by him not doing that, that changed the dynamic of the game. And, obviously it forced more punts. They're not getting those first downs, and putting more pressure on our defense there. But I mean, that's kind of seeing it in that capacity. I thought the biggest thing for Sam was not to turn the ball over, run the ball effectively, which K9 ran out his mind and put the team
Yep.
on his back,
Yep.
on the offense side of the ball there, especially without having Charbonnet and someone to kind of bounce off of.
Right.
So I mean, that was huge, but that also allowed Sam to be a little bit more comfortable. The play action opened the plays downfield. I mean, Gonzalez for the Patriots was making, some great plays out there. I mean, if we get a couple of those, it's a blowout game early on, quick. But he helps. I won't say single handedly kept him in the game, but I think his athleticism, his ability, allowed them to keep the game close, and our defense was just too dominant for that offensive line. I mean, that was probably the best performance from our defense line all
Oh my
season.
gosh.
And
Yeah.
and it's at the right time, right? I mean, you don't want them to peak, mid-season and have a game, like the game like they did, on that Sunday. And that was a game changer because he just made him uncomfortable. Obviously he's a young player, going through the playoffs for the first time, and obviously in the Super Bowl, the biggest game. You do have some veterans on our team. And yeah, I mean, it was, that defensive performance was, you love to see it. I mean, everyone talks about defense wins championships, and here you go on the biggest stage, and having that defensive performance like that, and it warms my heart.
Yeah. I'm sure it does. You brought up a point that, frankly, with all the stuff I've watched, I haven't heard anybody else bring up, and that
Mike Rose.
he took away his feet, which is the one dynamic that I think would have been a game changer in this instance, because that pocket, that offensive line did not have an answer for our defensive line.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like I don't understand like how do you not have the offensive coordinator or the head coach or some type of personnel that's there? It's like, hey, we need you to extend the play with your feet. Like
Yeah.
that, you're not just a pocket passer. Like you do a great job of, you know, moving the chains and making defenses uncomfortable when you're having to run the ball, right? Because the whole game they didn't account for him, as with the spy or anything. So like, everyone's in coverage, they're in man, they're sending blitzes. So guys are downfield, you know, 15, 20 yards in some instances. And by the time you break the pocket and they're coming down to break on you, you already got 10 yards. You already got the first down there, and you're
Yeah.
not a small quarterback. So I mean, you're pretty shifty there. So I really thought that was interesting. They never made the adjustment for him to be more effective, with his legs.
Right. Because that slows down the D line too, because they have to maintain their gap. They can't just peel their ears back and go. They got to maintain containment and all the other things, and watch for him to be breaking out of the pocket. But they just let it rip. It was fun to.
I mean, he had 450 yards on the season rushing.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no,
Yeah,
that's,
so, I
that's
mean,
certainly a part of his
that's
game.
decent for a quarterback, right? Yeah, decent. Yeah, very decent for a quarterback. So I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I think that's just the dynamic that allowed that. I think you did it in earlier games to help you get you there, and then you don't do it, when like it's when it's needed most, right? And so
Right.
especially when that left tackle is just getting abused right there, right? So I mean, you have a gap in your on offensive line with this one of the best pass rushers, pass rush unit, in the game. And
Right.
you have to find something, quick pass. Obviously the run game was non-existent. We knew that going in. Like there was, no one was going to rush over 100 yards on them, within that talent there. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting that they never really made the adjustment. But hey, that's all them, And
Right.
again, it goes back to the defense, having a stellar game out there, forcing a few turnovers, and Kay Walker just just had a phenomenal game. Just being able to get us in position to go just get points, right?
Right.
Even just getting those 3 points, that changes the game if we don't get those 3 points. And now we're going to have it 6-0. Even 9-0. Like the game is still there though.
I know. That was a scary thing.
It felt lopsided, right, because of how dominant our defense was playing. But the game was always very close. It never really got out of reach.
Well,
until later. But I mean, yeah.
And those are the scary games, right? Because you see a team dominate, and then one big play, and then the team that's upside down is right in reach, and then you see them all of a sudden saying, "Hey, look, we're right here, we're right back in this thing." And I didn't like that. It was nice to see Jason Myers.
It was like that Niner game, right? It's like the last game of the season, right? It was we weren't scoring points, we were getting field goals, we got in the red zone. Our defense is dominating, they can't move the ball, but the game is still close. It's right there. Right. And like to your point, it's like a big play or explosive play that happens, and next it's like the tables have turned, and like now we're kind of scrambling, to get back on top. So
right. I will tell you though, Sam missed 2 wide open touchdowns. Yeah, wide open. Which is easy to see when you're sitting there, at Bruno's, hanging out. But on a 20-foot TV, but they were wide open. Yeah. So, and it was fun to see K9. It was fun to see the offensive line shore up. I will tell you one neat thing too. When I was there, we're doing the opening night. I go as media, but I'm not a guy that really asks the guys a lot of questions. I'll just talk to them. I don't interview them. But Zane, I did interview. I just asked him, because we talked about this, is that at some point there's going to be a group of guys that just draw the line and say, okay, we are not going to be the reason anymore that this team isn't doing well. Yeah. And I said, you've got a lot of young talent in that room. Did you guys have that discussion? And his answer was, you know what, we had the discussion of we're going to do whatever it takes. If we need a first down, we're going to do whatever it takes. If we need to protect our quarterback, we're going to do whatever it takes. And so Anne Marie actually set the quote for the interview. It's whatever it takes. It was
Whatever
a
it takes.
very
Yeah.
articulate, great answer, but it was pretty much on point to what my thoughts were. Is that this group they're young, and they've got the right mindset, and they just want to be. He goes, I go, ask him, what about the new, the new offensive coordinator, I know you weren't there last year, but everything's all spread out. This year it was, 2, 3 tight ends, everything's just bunched up. He goes, man, when you have mass on mass, that's an offensive lineman's dream, just mass on mass. And that's what they had. And they controlled it. And K9 just, he's so fun to watch, and we've also said this. He's so fun to watch, but he's scary to watch because he puts himself in such precarious, physical deals because he just keeps going, and he'll twist and turn and worm for an extra 3 yards. But that's what makes him so dynamic. Did you see did they end up? He ended up getting a contract?
I haven't seen if they re-sign. I mean, he is a free agent, so I mean,
yeah. I'd seen whispers.
Huh?
I'd seen some whispers of some of the numbers where they're going to place him at, and
I think he's unrestricted. So I think he might have to wait until free agency actually starts before signing him back if he's unrestricted. I think so.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I know you.
I think they had their time to sign him, probably extend him through the course of the season. But I think with Charbonnet going down, that was in the playoffs, right? So I mean, that was kind of a late ordeal for him going down, and
right,
probably thinking that we're not going to extend him. We have Charbonnet here, and then he goes down. So now Charbonnet doesn't come back until maybe October. Depending on how his recovery is. So it's like you need a running back. We have 3 defensive backs that are up on the table as well.
Who's that?
Brian, Woolen, Joby. So I mean, who do we sign back? I mean, but for the most part, I mean, we have a lot of guys that are returning next season. So I mean, it's going to be, especially on that defense side of the ball. So I mean, it's going to look good. I mean, I think you have to sign one of those 3 of those guys back. One of those guys. Right. I don't know if they sign Woolen back. They just let him walk. I mean, I like Kobe Bryant. I mean, because he gives you that kind of inside safety type of personnel. I like Joby. Joby stepped up well late.
Yep.
Made a lot of plays for us. On the outside there. I can see them probably drafting a corner, depending on where that kind of falls and who's available in the market, or maybe even go to free agent. I don't know. I mean,
I think of all of them, all the ones you named off, Woolen would be the one. Would be, he's a talented kid, but man, he makes some big mistakes, and we talked about the other issue of that taunting really at a bad time and gave them a score. Not only did he taunt, but then he got toasted. Not a good look when you're
not back to back. Yeah. I mean, his play has been up and down the past couple years. Right, he had the Pro Bowl year, his early on, and he's kind of battled injury and stuff like that happens, but that kind of exposed him in a different capacity. Probably wanted to shy away from that shoulder that he was kind of dealing and lingering with and stuff like that. And how does he come back from that situation? Obviously, he's going to command a high dollar amount. I know we do have a decent cap going into this. I think it's probably almost like 80 million or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I think we have some wiggle room to bring some guys on.
Yeah.
I think they looked at the draft as well to find some guys that can kind of come in and contribute, like Ibn Warren.
Have you seen the statistic on our last 2 years of draft picks? I mean, it's we've drafted extremely well. Yeah. Extremely well. I mean, I think of all the draft picks, I think they were all like contributed to this season and that win. I mean, it's amazing. To your point of, we're young, we have a lot of guys still under rookie contracts for at least another year or 2. So I mean, we've got the makings of at least a 2 to 3 year run of really being the team to beat. But I think the NFC West is going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl for the next couple of years. I think Stafford's got a couple more years in him with that receiving core, and they look pretty solid. And then if San Francisco can get off the triage deal, they've got a solid roster, and they've got a great team as well.
Yeah, I mean, and quiet as it's kept as well. The Bears. I mean, I think the
Yeah,
Bears offensively are going to be a force. I think if they get pieces on the defensive side, that's going to
right.
allow them to be very competitive going into that stretch. But I think to your point, though, the NFC is very strong with a lot of talent, across the board, and like it's going to be a tough path to get back to the Super Bowl with all those teams that we kind of mentioned. But I think whoever gets out of there is going to be the favorite, to go win the Super Bowl going into it, though.
Yeah,
I just don't see that the AFC just has a lot of, you know, a lot of teams that are still finding and needing more pieces to
yeah.
be competitive, right? I mean, what does that game look like if Bo Nix doesn't break his leg, right? I think Denver goes to the Super Bowl. I mean, their defense is really good.
I would say that would have been a much more competitive game.
Yeah.
I believe that would have been.
They have an offense that can create points, and they've
Yeah.
been down in distress and came back and win games. So they were battle tested in a different capacity. I think they were battle tested like how that 2013-14 Seahawks team was going into that Super Bowl. Which you
Right.
get to that point, it's like it would have made for a very, very dynamic Super Bowl if they were able to get in there. But
Yeah.
but again, they have an opportunity as well to come out the AFC, and that could be a dynamic for them. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting how the offseason shakes out with the free agency. Obviously, we need to address the running back. We have the DBs that we need to address. Obviously, we can't help. You can always beef up the offensive line. Maybe another. We need.
Yeah, we need help at right. We need help at right guard. We need help
Right
at right
guard.
guard. Yeah, for
Yep.
sure. He's,
Again,
yeah,
I
of
know
any of
deep-
them, he's the one that struggled. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so do you draft a guy, or do you get a guy at a free agent in that?
I
to
think
be-
because we got the money, I think we shored
Creative,
up
right?
with a yeah, I think we shored up with a vet looking to be, on a team that's got a chance to repeat or get back there. The one thing though, assuredly we will not do is sneak up on anybody next year.
No.
We go back to the beginning of the season where the line was 7.5 games, and we were by some picked to be either third or fourth in our division. That ain't happening next
No.
year.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, we are next year. We go in as the favorite within the division. I mean, obviously, with Kubiak leaving, what offensive coordinator comes in here, and now that changes the whole dynamic of the offense, right? And having to relearn the playbook, so that's going to be a question mark, perhaps. But I mean, from a defensive side standpoint, I mean, the majority of the team on defense comes back, right?
Yeah.
They just need to address that corner position and corner / safety position. If they're able to do that, we're going to be in good shape. Even though look, those are crucial spots to have, though, right? Especially in this pass happy league, being able to have those corners in tow. But I like your point there of like, yeah, we need to beat the offensive lineup, and then find a running back, right? I think do you go with the K9 and pay him out, with the injuries and obviously the short career expectancy for a running back, or do you kind of bring someone in, or you hope for a college guy that's able to come in and play at a high level in compliments of Charbonnet once he gets healthy, right? Because then you have the question about how does Charbonnet come back off of this
Right.
ACL injury, right? I mean, we don't even know how that's going to factor, So
Yeah.
it was very unfortunate that he got hurt though, because I liked him as I like him as a running back. I was like, I mean, I liked him as probably him being the starter in K-Dub coming off the bench, in like a relief situation. Like that's what I was, just how physical he ran. And then
Right.
Now you have a speedy guy that would take the edges. I think it would have opened that up more for Kay Walker through the course of the season. But yeah, we'll see what Snyder decides.
I think with the contract figures that I'm seeing, it's gonna be a nice contract for K9, but it's not gonna warrant say Saquon Barkley kind of contract. It's not gonna be he's gonna be at the 10 to 11 million a year, probably about half of what a top running back is. So in the grand scheme of things, I think I call that affordable still. I think that's a good value. But I wouldn't go a big contract, no more than 3 years, because of the points you brought up. The injury proneness. He had a injury-free year this year, but just to keep him there. And gosh, if we can get Charbonnet back, a nice compliment, and then you bring in a young kid to mentor under them, and then take the ball. Uh, one question I had for you is, after it's all set, there's all this build up, all the week, all this stuff, all the, you know, and then of course the game, the elation of the game. You're spraying each other with champagne, getting it in your eyes. You're getting the confetti out of your ears, and then what's the day? What's like this? Okay, the parade's over, the bus ride's over, you know, and then you go home.
Yeah.
And so, do you just like do you just sit on the couch for a week and just defrag? Or I mean, everyone's going to do it differently, but is there this huge just kind of like let down a little bit?
I mean, I think in some instances, I mean, I think some guys are, the party still continues. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you're in off season now, right?
Yeah.
The season's over. Obviously, you've gone into February, so a lot of people have already been in their vacation mode. So now you're just kind of in that space of just kind of, rest and recovery. I mean, and for me, I was a free agent, so now I'm, in rest recovery and taking my vacations on, and then it's like, waiting for, what's free agent going to happen with, and so then you're kind of, that mindset kind of kicks in of like, am I going to stay here, or am I going to go venture out and see what that kind of looks like within that regard? But yeah, I mean, you're kind of just, you're relaxing, taking it in, mending your wounds and letting your body recover.
Yeah.
Dehydrating and trying to hydrate at the same time, and so it's you just just taking it in, go home, see family, just to kind of just enjoy the off season before OTAs start back up again in April. So like, you have that short window of getting right back into it, and in 2 months, is your break at that point. So now then you got to find time to start, when are you going to start working out again and get ready, get your mindset ready to go back and do it again, whether with that same team, or, with a different team. Now you're trying to go in and compete and, earn your spot and,
start all over.
Start all over, learn a new playbook, and, trying to, figure what that looks like. And for me, it was interesting because going with the Giants that next year, I'm talking to defensive coordinators. Everyone's trying to figure out what the secret sauce is. How to run their cover three, and it's like, it's such a different dynamic when like you don't have the personnel, or you're running a totally different scheme, and you're trying to run a similar scheme like them, and like it doesn't even make sense because that's not what you guys run, and so it's like almost speaking a foreign language in some capacity, because at the end of the day, they're that defense coordinator is still going to do what they know to do, what they do, whatever their scheme looks like and going to be in that regard. But, it's but you do see the difference, of the different dynamic, the different mentalities of team. Because I was going to a Giant team that on paper, looked great on paper, different names on there. But then the element that misses is that cohesiveness, right? Guys that are selfless, guys that want to, work hard, for the greater good within that, and you have a bunch of different veterans from, different spaces within their personal careers, and what they're looking for, what they're striving for, whether it's monetary or if it's, for a championship or if it's just personal accolades, it's very interesting to kind of see that, and just seeing how special, that 13-14 Seahawks team was, and all the makeup of the guys, of what what their mentality was. I remember, it's funny enough because we stayed in the New York, the Giants facility the week of the Super Bowl for training. So we trained at the facility, and then, in a short few months, I happened to find myself back there. But in one of the rooms, in one of the defensive rooms, they had a sign up there of like, let's hold the team to 17 points. And I guess they had a stat that if you could hold an offense to 17 points, you had a, I don't know, 75% chance of winning the game based off of whatever the offensive statistic stats were through the course of the season. And I remember being in that meeting room, and I'm like, hey, can we take the sign down? Because like, who said they had to score? You know, like that was the mentality that we have, though, right? Like, why are we going to give them points? Like, why are we going to allow ourselves to have that bridge of like, oh, they can get points on us? Like, no, like
how about no points?
That's not our mentality.
Yeah,
no points. Yeah, let's shut them out. Yeah, like but then you go to that game though, and like we shut them out for 3 quarters. You know, and and we could have beat that team. Just from defense, defense alone, right? Because we scored from the safety and then a pick 6, and so you're talking about we outscored the number 1 offense in the history of football on defense, and we put things in perspective how dominant that team was, because you have people chattering like how dominant is this team versus that team, and we did it against the number 1 defense in the world, but offense in the world in that capacity. So I don't know, it's football's great, but the dynamic of the guys in that locker room, make it worthwhile.
So, do you play in any other Super Bowls?
No, I only played in 1.
Okay, just the one. Just so you're 1-0. All right. Well, that other side of things is playing in the Super Bowl and losing, and what that must feel like. You get there, and then like in New England, where frankly, they never had a chance. You watch the game. They really didn't, they were struggling the whole time. The only bright side was their defense that limited us a little bit. But really, if Sam hits 2 passes, it was a blowout in the first half.
Did you hear the stat about their schedule? I mean, they had one of the easiest schedules in like the last 20 years or something.
Yeah, when you look at their deal and you look at how many of them the teams had either fired or lost their head coach, it was like of the 17 games, like 12 of them, the head coaches have been fired. That's how bad those teams were. So yeah, they got their way in there. Anyhow,
but to your point, though, the AFC wasn't that strong there, right? And
it wasn't.
The strongest team was the Broncos there, and they squandered that opportunity, on a home game on that 4-for-1 that they called the bootleg to the blitz side.
Yeah,
that was a for a play caller, for a Hall of Fame play caller, that was a poor play call.
Yeah, it was a poor play call, and there were a number of them in that game. I think Sean had to take, I think I'd take a big part of the blame for that loss. And which reminds me of a question I was going to ask you. We had a major change. Kubiak comes in, really resets the whole offense, and our for the first time our offense, we're scoring 30. We're scoring points. And really a good offensive set. I thought now another really strong offense was the Niners. They put up points. I love the way they it seems like there's a lot of misdirection with their offense. You have Kittle going one way and CMC going the other way, and then the ball goes back to Kittle. They get you going and flowing. I'm really interested to see how he takes what Kubiak did. Does he completely change it, or does he insert some stuff? What have you, because you have a number of years of experience, you've gone through coaching changes. Does it usually, when a new coach comes in, does he just say, okay, erase the chalkboard, the whiteboard's erased, and we're going with this now?
I I think, I'm trying to look at it from like the offensive side and defensive side, with Pete Carroll being the head coach, like his defense primarily is like it's his defense as far as these are the plays I like, these are the scheme, this is what we want to run for as a 4-3 cover 3 kind of team, and then our defensive coordinator will work with that and then probably implement a couple of plays here and there on base and in nickel and dime and stuff like that, but for the most part, like he's not changing it to like, oh, we're running a 3-4 now. Like, no, we're running a 4-3.
Right.
But, but on the offensive side of the ball, you will have an offensive coordinator unless it's like, a Chip Kelly where this is my offense, where this is what we're running. Offensive coordinator, I'm gonna get your input, right? Because you have those type of coaches. Obviously, Sean Payton's one of those guys as well. Like the offensive coordinator is just there for install, but Sean is calling the plays on Sunday, right? So
Yeah.
like, if you have a guy, that's your offensive coordinator, yeah, he was, Q-back did that. Hey, this is my new playbook. Bow, here you go. So you are gonna have to relearn, have new terminology, new
Interesting.
formations names change.
Right.
The run scheme is going to be different. Like we might not even run outside zone like we did this season. We could be running downhill power. Who knows? It's going to come
Right.
down to what that offensive coordinator is looking to incorporate from his scheme there. But it always comes back down like, do you have the personnel to run what your what that offense is going to be? Right.
Yeah, because I saw with the Niners a lot of crossing routes, a lot of tight end use.
Yeah,
Nothing really,
I think it's
nothing.
pretty similar though. I think
Nothing
similar
really
enough.
deep. Nothing really deep. A lot of course, a lot of CMC. So we got that run game, then off the play action, and then utilizing
West Coast passer, right? So time and rhythm, which again,
yeah,
like can Sam, is he that type of quarterback? We'll see. I mean, I think SC ran similar like West Coast offense, I would imagine, during his time there. So I think he would have it in his back pocket. But I think the running game, would suit us. It's usually the fullback. It's using the tight ends, which again we use a lot of tight ends. So that maybe you convert one of those tight ends to maybe an H back or fullback type of personnel.
right.
Within that. No, we'll see. But I think we have the pieces. We just need the running back, and we need another complement receiver, with Njigma. So Cup is nice. I think Cup was crucial in the run game this year. Crucial in the run game as a blocker, and he showed up big time. When his number was called. I mean, he made
third down.
He made the toughest catches out there. I mean,
third down when you need him, clutch. 8 yard, just catch it, get clobbered. And he does it. So I think
they need to shot Shaheed back because I think that gave a nice dynamic of having, a legitimate deep threat, and allow Jigma just to be able to kind of run underneath and use his speed and quickness underneath to where it was very complimentary. So
the safeties couldn't sit on him, right? They couldn't wait for that crossing route. They had to respect the speed and they had to drop off a little bit and give a little bit of cushion. Yeah. Which is nice. I think everything worked out really well. Hey, so that's the season. We'll do our show of here and there, and we'll get some guys on, and we'll stay in touch with everybody. But what do you got going now? You got, aside from softball, what are we doing? What are we doing Friday? Next Friday.
Next Friday. Jump's hosting a golf networking event at Brookside Country Club in Pasadena.
All right.
For anybody that's interested, you can reach out on LinkedIn.
All right.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice little deal there. I'll be able to go in the morning for the first morning to probably like about lunchtime. I have a game later in the afternoon, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be there. I'm bringing some guys. Support Jump, and then March 16th is the First and Goal Project, my nonprofits golf tournament, and so this is Hawk Talk, guys. We have Steve Largent flying in. We have Jim Zorn coming in. Uchenna Nwosu is going to play. Walter Thurman's going to play for a little while, and then he's got to go coach his girls. But he's going to hang out with us in the morning. Steve Hauschka might be playing. He said he's pretty. Yep, Hauschka's going to come. We've reached out to. I hate saying this. Our kicker. How come I can't think of his name? A kicker, just set the record for the most points in a season. Set the record for the most field goals in a Super Bowl. Jason Meyer.
Meyer.
Okay. Yeah, Meyer. Yeah, so he's a local guy. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're reaching out to him, and he's I guess a scratch golfer. I guess he's pretty good. Well, those kickers, they got nothing else to do.
That's over. Hey, we're out of there.
I hope he ain't watching. I hope he ain't watching. So, but anyways, it'll be a very Seahawks-centric event. But we also have Michael Cooper, Hall of Fame, Byron Scott, Olden Polanese, Jesse Sapolo, Jeff Garcia. So Niners will be represented. You know, of course, my buddies all from the cast of the Mayans TV show. So a lot of nice celebrities. But I think one of the greatest guests we'll have, Walter, is Medal of Honor recipient Gary Luttrell. So right now there's 66 living Medal of Honor recipients. And I didn't know this, but there's a statistic that less than 1% of the U.S. population has ever met a Medal of Honor recipient.
Oh,
And it's pretty exclusive. I've been able to meet 10. I do a lot in that space. You know, I've been
yeah,
able to
yeah.
do a lot and meet a lot of those men and hearing their stories. And Gary is a Vietnam vet, very great dude. So, you know, people that are coming will get a chance to meet a Medal of Honor recipient. And of course, all of our other veterans. We have Purple Hearts, we have triple amputees, double amputees out there playing. Alonzo Mitz is actually also coming from the Seahawks. So,
Nice.
anyways, long way to stay. We still have some foursomes left. Reach out to us here at Hawk Talk if you guys want to play, participate, sponsor. It's March 16th, so the date's coming up, and I think that's all. I think that's all we got, unless there's anything else you can think of.
No, hey, Seattle hey, you guys are the best fans. We appreciate you guys.
Love the 12s, man.
Yeah,
Love the 12s. Yeah, and I'll tell you, hey, Walt, one other thing just to cap off, and that is that watch party at Bruno's. We started when we first went there. We left the Golden Goose or the Wild Goose, whatever it was. We were having maybe 30 to 50 max, but we had
yeah,
30, 40 people. We went over to Bruno's and showed up with like 30, 40 people. And he goes, "Oh, I thought you'd have more people than that." The last game, it was 300 people out the doors. Everybody, you know, that last playoff game was nuts.
yeah.
But
That's yeah.
by the time we went there, we went undefeated. I think it was 11-0 from the time we went to Bruno's through to the Super
That's
Bowl.
right.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll tell you, so Bruno's in Huntington Beach. If you guys next year we're gonna start off the first game preseason game. We're gonna head back there and have a lot of fun. But anyways, hey guys, follow us Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. The numbers keep growing. We don't push it enough. We do this to have fun. We appreciate all of you that watch us every single week that we're on. Just keep an eye out for us as we continue doing the show. And I guess that's about it, man. It was a great season.
Yes, sir. It was.
All
Hey,
right,
you know, we got the cherry on top. You
the
know,
cherry on top.
we got the cherry on top. The Super Bowl. Yeah.
We're gonna run it back. All right, go Hawks. We'll see y'all.
Go Hawks, you guys.